Okay everybody, happy Friday. In this video I'm going to show you how to do one of your favorite things even better. We're going to do some Cornell notes from a textbook reading, and I'm going to show you the basics. Many of you guys already get this, but I want to show you a really nice way to set up your notes and where to find some cues as we get the year started with some textbook reading. Cornell Notes is a simple but effective strategy. It focuses on what are the main ideas, what are the key details from the reading, and it finishes with a summary, as you probably remember. And I think it's just a great way to grab the important stuff from whatever you read, get it in your notes so you can quickly find it later. You can use these as a study tool. You can do all sorts of things with these. But I'll walk you through how to do notes for today's assignment and today's assigned reading, which is called Studying the Distant Past. By now you have already read it, and you should have a sheet of paper out and you can copy what I do for this first part. Okay? And we can pause the video occasionally to make sure everybody gets it, but follow along with me the best you can. You'll notice I've got a title on my page. I'm also going to put, I know it's going to be page 3 in the current unit, so I'm going to put that up there. And these notes are not going to be collected for an extended period of time, but just in case, you could put your header up here. You're working on this on 9/19/14. I'm going to just pretend I'm in period 7. Okay, there it is. I've got a header, page number, and the title of the section. I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. All right. I'm about, I'm a little bit closer to the left side of the page than I am to the right. You don't have to go too crazy about that, but try to split it into 1/3 over here, 2/3 over here. When we do reading notes, we're going to start this year with using terms from the reading or subheadings. Sometimes the red headings, but more often the blue subheadings that go underneath them. So you'll see me use those in the first part. I am going to be working on the page 58 and 59. I'm just going to show you, I'm going to demo up to dating ancient remains. Okay, so you can follow along. If you want to look at that in the book, you can do that, but you should also be writing down the notes. I'm going to use color coding with red for the cues and green for the details. You don't have to color code it, you can just use one color. Okay, but some people like the colors just in terms of organizing the types of information, and I'm going to do it since I'm demoing this. The first term that I found in the reading was anthropology. It was the first word in the third sentence, and it's highlighted in yellow, so I'm going to go ahead and put that as my first cue. And the text defined it as the study of, study of human behavior, origins, cultures. You'll notice that I'm going to do my best to keep my details limited, but make sure that I'll know what they mean later on. So I got just the core of that definition there. I left out words that would make it a complete sentence and things like that. That bullet point is enough for me to know what anthropology is. The next one is archaeologists. That one's hard for me to spell, but I think I got it right. I just looked at it as I was about to write it. This is a group or type of this is anthropologists. I'm gonna abbreviate there because I'm trying my best to get notes that will make sense to me, but that don't have too many extra words, that don't take up too much more space than necessary. We just want to remember what the stuff said. They are a group of anthropologists who study human life in the past using things people left behind. I'm going to go ahead. We already know that those things are called artifacts or perhaps fossils. Okay, I'm trying to keep it brief. There you go. There's my second cue along with a definition. So far we've just seen terms and definitions, and we're going to get a third one in this section too. The next thing we get is prehistory. Prehistory is the time before written records, which another way to say that would be before about 5,000 years ago, which is another way of saying before about 3,000 BC. Okay, the next cue is a little different. I'm going to use the blue subheading near the bottom of page 58, and that one said hunting for fossils. This one's more about a level 2 idea, I guess you could say, than just a term. Hunting for fossils. The first part is, what are fossils? They're hardened remains or imprints of formerly living things. I'm gonna go ahead and write it all out. You could say of things that have died, I guess. That would also work, but it's almost as long. The next bullet I'm going to put in here is about how fossils are created. Minerals replace tissue of the living thing, which makes a stone copy. Okay? Which makes a stone copy of the living thing. You'll notice I did some sort of shortening and abbreviating here. I wrote minerals replace tissue. If you want to include tissues of the living thing, just so you don't mistake that for Kleenex, be my guest. And I use this arrow showing that it becomes, or it transforms, or it transitions into a stone copy. Okay, I'm going to move up my page so you guys can keep watching. And then the last bullet I got out of this section of reading is it's fossilized human bones are very rare. I'm going to write it, I'm going to abbreviate it a little bit again, or shorten it. Human fossils are rare, but they can tell us things like what people ate, the size of their body, and so on. But can tell what they ate, and that would be like from looking at and analyzing their teeth, size of the body. It could be the size of a skull. It could tell us how large was the brain capacity and all sorts of things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and at this point you are going to go ahead and you're going to do a section of notes on your own, and then we're going to check, and we can start up the video when you're ready for dating ancient remains. And I'm going to show you that one so that you can compare what you did to what I did before we cut you loose with a little bit more freedom to work on your own. Okay? So I'll be back in a moment. Okay. Hopefully you've had a chance to do notes for dating ancient remains on page 59. Here's what I got. Check yours against mine. First of all, here it is on the left, and on the right I wrote several methods to date, which means to get an age of fossils or artifacts. So when we talk about dating things, we are talking about figuring out how old they are. Here's the first that it listed. Comparing objects in similar layers of the soil, of the ground, where things are found, will usually tell us what's older, because lower equals older most of the time. Unless things have gotten disturbed and messed up and moved around since they were laid down, things get laid down, and as time goes on, things get laid down on top. So older equals lower. 2, radioactive dating measures the decay of radioactive material to estimate age. So this one's complicated, but if you've heard of carbon-14 dating, that's one of the most well-known versions of this. It uses radioactive atoms in a formerly living thing to figure out how long it's been dead, essentially. So it can tell us how old things are, like logs, like remains of plants and animals, some things that people would have used, or other things people would have left behind that had been living that were maybe killed by people, and then we can tell how long ago they died. And finally, DNA, which is the genetic footprint in all of our cells, that can be used to compare remains from the past to us today. So there's 3 ways to figure out how to date or get an age of an object, if it's a fossil or some kinds of artifacts that had been living things. Okay, from this point on, you guys are going to do a couple rounds of notes, and you're going to compare to somebody else's notes, or a couple other people's notes perhaps. But hopefully this demo has given you a pretty good idea, and you got a chance to do one and compare what you did to what I did. Make sure you have what I have, at least in the ideas, maybe different words, but make sure you have those 3 methods, and then you can move on. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.